What's the point in going swimming or going to the gym if all you're going to do is stress and think about business? Where are these problems coming from? Where are the stresses? What am I thinking about in Salah, right? When I'm with my family, what am I thinking about? What is the thing that's actually disturbing me? When you have all of those questions like answered and you're thinking about these things, when it actually comes down for Salah, it's actually far easier for you to slow down. Minds are always working, and this is why, because we have such high aspirations, we have vision, there's things we're building, there's loads of things we're trying to do in the background. When it's time for us to actually tone our minds down, we struggle, right? And of course that's going to naturally affect your salah. It's actually one of the reasons I'm so passionate about this when it comes to peak performance as well, because as entrepreneurs, our minds, like I mentioned to you, always working, but that's a bad thing, because when it comes to things like that we need to tone our minds down for, again, we struggle. Like being with our family, it's a form of ibadah. But for the entrepreneur whose mind is always working, he struggles to spend time with his family. His mind is thinking about this thing, he's building that thing. Salah, it's so important that we're conscious in salah. But again, when our minds are constantly thinking about A, B, C, D, E, F, how are we supposed to be conscious in prayer, which is so important, right? Our big minds, our visions, the things we're trying to do, that in our minds, it's clogging naturally our brain. Right? Another example where we need to be able to slow down is when we are actually replenishing, right? What's the point in going swimming or going to the gym if all you're going to do is stress and think about business? Does that make sense? So you need to actually learn how to concentrate on certain thoughts at certain times. And this is why I warn all of us, every single entrepreneurs, and what has benefited my clients is having slow down time. First of all, before you do any action, it's about thinking about what you're going to do. Now, Islamically, this is a concept we easily understand. Actions are based on the intention, and the importance of the intention, and the importance of, before you do anything, just asking yourself very quickly. It doesn't have to be said out loud. It's just focusing on the thoughts in your head. I'm about to pray. I need to clear everything in my head and focus on my salah, right? Not coming from just have a calm down phase before you, sort of a slow down period before you start anything. I don't like to bounce right from this thing to this action to the next action, because then a lot of times my mind is still caught up in the previous action, right? So what you can do again is just calm down, observe, just focus, slow down about what you're about to do, all right? What's the goal of this thing that I'm about to do? And this works with anything. Salah, work, family. It's like I want to spend time with my family. I need to lock in and just focus on my family, all right? Now, this can be done differently. I actually practice focus, right? And I believe all of us should practice focus. Sometimes just learning to sit down and just focus on one concept, one thing, right? It could be breathing, right? And I do it all the time, where I'm just sitting down, I'm just trying to focus on my breathing, right? It actually trains your mind to focus on certain things. And when the thoughts come into my mind, or when other things come into my mind, it's no, breathing. I'm just focusing on my breathing. I don't want to think about anything. Sometimes it could be drawing the attention to your heartbeat. This is actually a very effective way, by the way, to get away from stress, right? And that's why we're told to take deep breaths, because you're paying attention to something other than those thoughts for a second, right? Again, if you have stresses or etc., contextualize them, right? Compartmentalize them, in a sense that what I'm trying to say is, I like to understand where these problems coming from, where the stresses, what am I thinking about in salah, right? When I'm with my family, what am I thinking about? What is the thing that's actually disturbing me? Do you get what I'm saying, right? So I want to understand why those things are disturbing me, and perhaps if it's about business, okay? So perhaps I need to just and this is why I've said, when you understand what you're going to do in a day, you are a lot less stressed during the day, which is why I like to structure my whole day, right? With my calendar, right? Dhuhr, Asr, of course, the Salah times going first, where I need to be, what I'm achieving in a deep work session, because that allows me to ready my mind for that specific thing. And that's why routine is so good as well. When you have routine, your mind knows what certain times things are for, right? And again, like I mentioned, set clear intentions. Understand at a specific time, what do you want to do, right? And being able to detach yourself from things is super important, right? Now, it's a slow practice, right? So sometimes, like I mentioned, when you feel like your brain is overclogging, slow down for a second, just ponder. And that's why I do the reflection after Asr. It gives me a chance to slow my mind down for the rest of the day, right? And this is actually something that was done by one of the Salaf. He actually used to spend the time after Asr in reflection as well, because again, that's when your deeds are being presented to Allah at Asr and at Fajr, right? So this gives you an opportunity to by reflecting, you're giving your mind time to think, so it doesn't spend time time thinking when it's supposed to be doing other things. Because I actually wanted to understand, why is it that I spend so much time when I'm in salah thinking about other things, all right? It's because that's the only time my mind is actually what? Slowed down. That's the only time I'm not doing something other than salah, of course. So that's the time now my mind is using to focus and think things, because I'm slowed down, right? I'm stuck in this position and I have to do these specific actions. So my mind has time now to think. So if I just give my mind time to think already, when it's time for salah, I can actually focus and be conscious of Allah, right? I can slow down. And one thing I like to do is focus harf by harf, right? In salah, it's benefited me. Harf by harf, letter by letter of what I'm reading, word by word, right? And then again, sometimes you'll see naturally other thoughts. No, it's back to the word, back to the harf, the letter, the word. If the imam is reciting, trying to understand every single word, trying to formalize it, contextual. Does that make sense? So if you give your mind time to think and reflect, you won't do it so much in salah. If you actually give your mind that time, does that make sense? So you've given your mind time to actually think, to be conscious, what's the problem, what am I dealing with, etc. A lot of times, like I mentioned to you, bro, people don't give themselves time to what? Think. Just be calm, man. Learn to what? To slow down, all right? Reflect on certain things. This is one thing I always like to do, reflect on your day. I'll ask myself, are you pleased with how your days went? What problems, perhaps, do you need to address that you're maybe running away from, that you're escaping from? When you have all of those questions like answered and you're thinking about these things, when it actually comes down for salah, it's actually far easier for you to slow down. See, we live in a world that's constantly moving. If we're not doing this, we're doing this. If we're not doing this, we're constantly stimulated. So salah is the only time now that our brains get a chance to what? Like organize everything that's going on. So if you actually give your mind time to organize those things, you won't have to do it so much in salah. In fact, you won't need to do it all in salah, and you can just focus about what actually matters, your connection with Allah in salah. This is something, bro, that wallahi al-azim, it's really, really benefited me greatly, because I asked myself, when is it that I'm best in khushu? It's the days that so many things aren't going on. Okay, but why? Surely it can't just be because there's not loads of activities going on, because I've had the time to what? To think, reflect, so I can actually come to salah with what? Focus. All right, does that make sense? And so I hate jumping from one task straight to another. Because again, give the mind time. Like, it's like a car. If you just use the car for a long time, just give it some time before you use it again for another journey. What people don't understand is your mind is a machine, all right? To a certain degree, it's just like a machine. You can't just leave it running all day and expect it to like work at its best, at its peak. You have to give your mind downtime. Give it time to organize, for things to cool down, for things to restructure itself. Because our minds are crazy, bro. They're very powerful. So we need to give them time to what? Restructure. Tamam, perfect. That's why so many times I realized, bro, I'm with my family, but I'm not even with my family. That's horrible. Right? Because when the Prophet ﷺ, when you look at when the Prophet ﷺ was fully with them, when was in conversation with people, they said he used to what? Give them this full attention. Today we can't even do that. We can't even talk to people and just immerse ourselves. As we're mentioning things to other people, our mind is somewhere else. This again is because of too much multitasking as well. Whenever you do something, just do that thing.